You have found Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggles, stories, and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. We are coming to you from the Sun Prairie Community Radio Studios, underwritten by Bank of Sun Prairie. My name is James Kademan, business coach at Draw In Customers Business Coaching and author of the Bold Business Book, available on Amazon. Today, we are welcoming / preparing to learn from Jen Rudis of Jenerate Wellness. Jen, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling awesome. Thanks for having me.
I gotta apologize because I'm hoping to death that I pronounced your last name right.
You did, actually.
Oh, wiped the sweat from my brow. So Jenerate Wellness, that's Generate, Jen.
With a J. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So tell me, what is that? What do you do?
Wow. Okay. So Jenerate Wellness is a unique business model, actually. It's a couple of different things. It's basically, and I'm sure we'll get into this a little bit more, how
Sure.
I got into the business, but it's designed around things that help me with my health and wellness.
Okay.
And some, just bring some value. I wanted to bring value to the community with the things and the tools that helped me. Infrared saunas, detoxification products, tea, a number of different products and services in Wanakee. Just to share that information.
Sure. I'm laughing because you're like intensive technology and then tea.
Yeah, right.
That's a wide gamut.
Yeah, well, the tea bar is cool because it was definitely a tool for me that I used when I was losing weight and when I was trying to get healthier.
Sure.
And so I was trying to find a way that I could incorporate that. I selfishly included it in the business for myself. I drink tea all day long.
All right, well, if it works, right?
Yeah, and it's also just a great alternative from coffee or, soda or some other things.
Sure.
But yeah, it's simple. Our health and wellness is, can be complex and it can be simple.
Mm-hmm.
And so tea is just a great way to, have some fun with it.
Nice. So tell me, what is the major portions of your business? I imagine there's more to it than tea.
Yeah, a couple of different components. Infrared saunas definitely is the biggest component and my favorite piece.
Okay.
So inside the wellness center, we have an infrared sauna studio where people can come and relax in a private sauna suite. We've kind of tailored them for people's relaxation.
Sure.
With people's luxury in mind, but you come in, you sit, you relax, sit under the chromotherapy lights.
Okay.
Learn a bit about infrared heat, what it is, how it can help you.
Okay.
So that's probably the largest piece of the business.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also a certified health coach, so I teach nutrition, weight management, just different tools that people can use to make better, healthier habits.
Okay.
And then, of course, we have a retail area that has a lot of different products, vitamins, minerals, supplements, healthy coffees, chocolates.
Sure.
Stuff that people are looking for to
Chocolates in there, too. That's awesome.
Healthy chocolates do exist, and we carry a number of different brands, so that's cool.
Very cool. And where are you located?
Main Street, Wanakee.
Okay, on the north side of the city-ish, right?
Yeah, east side, close to Sun Prairie, actually.
Okay,
so
nice.
Right when you come into Main Street on the right-hand side, there's a lot of multi-use buildings, and we're on the right-hand side on Main Street.
Very cool. So can you talk a little bit about the infrared saunas? Because before I met you, I had no idea what they were.
Really?
No clue.
See, that's so intriguing to me because... So first of all, I want to say I'm from up north Rhinelander, where nobody knows what infrared saunas were. And so when I moved to the area, I assumed that a lot of folks knew what infrared heat was and that it would be just kind of an easy transition.
I'm somewhat of a troglodyte, so there's that.
It's no worries. It's really just a Midwest thing. I think that sometimes, things gravitate in the health and wellness world a little bit, differently. But infrared heat is a safe and natural. It's a light energy that the body recognizes as heat.
Okay.
It's used in a number of different ways, but saunas in particular, if you think about it, you climb in, you're exposed to the light energy. The body recognizes that light as heat. And so one of the best analogies I like to explain to people is like standing in the sun, but without dangerous UV rays.
Okay.
If you're standing outside and you're directly in that sun, you feel that radiant warmth energy heating the core of your body, literally rising your body temperature. Mm-hmm. You step over a couple of feet into the shade underneath a tree. You're still in that warm air. Temperature is still the same, but you don't feel that radiant heat anymore, right? Mm-hmm. So infrared heats the core body temp so that you sweat and detoxify from the inside out versus just heating the air. Now, again, I mentioned I'm from up north, so I'm a big fan of traditional steam, hyper steam style saunas, which a lot of people are familiar with. This generally runs about 100 degrees less. It's a dry heat versus that wet hypersteam humidity style. So it's more comfortable. People can sit, they can relax. You can regulate the temperature yourself. But it's digging into your skin and muscle tissue to draw out arthritis, aches and pains, inflammation, to bring sweat to the surface of the skin. And I do want to mention that it definitely doesn't have to be a major sweat session. That's one thing, that might be uncomfortable for some folks. It really is about finding what use you can use it for and how it can benefit you. Sometimes I sit in my sauna just to disconnect and to feel that warmth to the core, especially in the wintertime. But it's designed to heat the core body temperature or dig into the areas that need relaxation. Takes us out of that fight or flight mode, if you will.
Sure. It's interesting you mentioned the no sweating, because I just talked to someone this weekend, and they said they don't like to sweat.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable for people.
What do you mean you don't like to sweat? It's like saying you don't like to breathe. Like, that's a natural
no, it really,
body thing.
Well, it is our body's natural way to detox, and it's our body's natural, like I call it, defense mechanism. If we get sick, we get a fever, we're going to start to sweat. That's just our immune system kicking in, doing its job.
Right.
But that is uncomfortable for people to sweat, especially if you're in public or you're in a profession where if you get hot and you get overwhelmed, you know, it is kind of embarrassing or can feel uncomfortable. I would say 30 to 40% of people who come into the studio asking questions come right out and say, I don't like to sweat, or I don't sweat. My body doesn't sweat. I get red in the face.
What?
Yeah.
That is crazy.
It's very common.
Like, you're talking to a guy that runs a couple miles a day, and if I'm not sweating, that means I'm dead.
Yeah.
So
well,
I just, from that perspective, I'm like, what do you mean you don't sweat? How do you not sweat?
Everyone's different. All our bodies are, designed, but we all respond differently to different temperatures. I love to sweat.
Sure.
I mean, the hotter the better. And I like have a lot of heat warriors, I like to call them, that come in and they just love that.
Heat warriors.
Heat warriors,
awesome.
yeah. They like the feel of that deep detoxifying sweat, but that is not a comfortable zone for everybody. It just isn't.
Sure.
I think if you're sitting in the sauna wrapped in a towel and you're not in clothes and you can jam to some tunes or listen to some music, it's a bit more comfortable than if you're sitting or if you're in workout gear. You just have that like ugh feeling. But in general, if you know what you're getting into and you're self-inducing a sweat, it's a little bit more comfortable.
Well, totally. Yeah, I guess I'm not saying that I love to sweat 24/7.
Right.
I guess in the context we were talking about working out, and she was doing different things where she didn't have to sweat when she was working out. And I was like, that seems
a lot of people avoid, like they don't like to go outside. They don't, they run cooling fans underneath their desks at their office, whereas others are like, bring on the warmth, especially in the wintertime. It's just, a preference, but it's very common.
Interesting.
It's more common actually in women. Which is interesting.
This was a woman, so all right.
Yeah, it's very, I would say most men enjoy sweating because they know that that's a way of, kind of detoxifying and you're feeling, good about your body.
Sure.
But it is generally more common in women.
I can tell you that I go camping routinely, right? And there are times when I go running a couple days after, even though you showered, a lot of times between now and then, if you really get a good sweat on, you're smelling that campfire.
Yes.
And so I'm wondering about the people that don't sweat. Like, do you smell like campfire forever?
I don't know. Our skin is our largest organ. So what goes in, what we're exposed to, gets into our sweat glands. And that's exactly why I work with firefighters and folks in emergency response. It's because what touches our skin and what we're exposed to environmentally gets into our body. I mean, it's in our lungs. We're breathing that air in. So that doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, it's interesting that you would smell that, a couple of days later, but. Yeah,
it's like when you're like some intense, very intense workout or something like that where an hour, like shirt's wet, bad.
Yeah.
Someone that doesn't like to sweat would be so grossed out.
Yeah, I definitely, it's a very common thread at Jenerate for us to hear from people, like, and this sounds kind of gross, but you go into a pool, like you're going to smell chlorine.
Oh, yeah.
I get folks who come in who use the infrared saunas if they're trying to quit smoking, which is very common because it helps get that nicotine and really kind of detox from the inside out, plus get it out of your skin, plus it just kind of helps mentally prepare you for any kind of addiction recovery. But you smell the nicotine, like you can literally smell that.
Interesting.
As a number of different things. I've had people come in and like, I just ate, some fast food restaurant or whatever, and then they come out and they're like, I could smell that
Oh, that's gross.
Well, what we put in our bodies, what we put in exudes on the outside. So.
I just think of those friends that you had in high school that worked at the fast food place that ate it left and right.
Yeah.
And you get in their car and you're like, man, what do you have going on in
Exactly.
here?
No, I've had a couple of very interesting situations where people come out and they're like, I just want to warn you that it kind of smells like a Frisco burger in there now. Or, I came in because I want to get healthier and today's Monday and I want to kick off something and I ate really poorly over the weekend. Sugar and high fat foods and just, deep fried foods. You know it's doing its job when you smell that coming out of your skin cells.
So That's awesome. So you got to tell me, because I'm just picturing, is this some big sauna where you got all the mafia guys in their towels sitting around making deals?
No.
Or, no.
I mean, if you bring them along, yes.
Okay.
But no, they're not waiting there for you at all. No, the saunas are in private rooms. They're not community style saunas. So
it's you on your own?
Correct. Unless you bring someone. And we do have a lot of, people who bring their friends, especially for the first time, to try to figure out, like, is this something I want to do by myself? They're a little nervous. I have a lot of husbands and wives, significant others, couples who come. Yeah, you'd be surprised how many people bring someone along because they want to. It's a great place to disconnect. Like, you can shut your phone off. Actually, we don't want you to take your phones in or technology in, but you can actually engage in a conversation with that person. You can, spend some time talking about. I've got one couple in mind. They're realtors. They come in once a week and they sit in there and they talk business. They get caught up on some business deals and they use it as their time as a husband and wife to just sit, relax, decompress a little bit, but also get some uninterrupted business time. So they are not, we don't pair you with a stranger. We don't make a new friend for you.
Sure.
It's all about your space, your time. So if you choose to bring someone, you can. The saunas comfortably sit 3 up to 4 people.
Okay.
I don't usually recommend more than one other person with you just because then it's crowded and that can get kind of uncomfortable.
Sure.
But more importantly, again, going back to everybody likes heat differently. You might like it 140 degrees. The person you bring along might be thinking, I just want to relax. I don't want a sweat session.
Okay.
And they might like it 120 degrees. And so now you're not really.
Seems crazy hot to me.
No,
Either way.
Traditional sauna is 200 to 225 degrees.
I hate traditional saunas.
I know. Most people don't realize how hot that air actually is. I mean, it's alarmingly burning.
Yeah, it seems like just straight up torture.
And then
to
they
me.
throw the water on the rocks, and it's like steam, This is a dry heat. You control the temperature on the wall, but the other person with you may or may not like the environment that you're creating.
Okay.
Plus, there's Pandora music in there that you can control. You might like to jam out to, John Mellencamp.
Sure.
And somebody else might like to listen to Enya.
All right. Two different. Okay, there we go.
2 totally different experiences. I have a number of folks who come together to the sauna and then they go in separate rooms because they know that about themselves. They like different environments. And so we want you to create the space you want, but you're not going in like a gym where there's going to be 5 or 10 people like randomly sitting in towels. That doesn't happen.
Sure. Okay. Gotcha.
That does not happen.
All right. So these saunas must be relatively small then. Like a closet size or?
No, I mean, they're about 6 to 7 feet wide. We have one called the Yoga Sanctuary.
Okay.
It's about 6 feet deep, so it creates more space. We have a lot of folks that come up and bring their mats, and so you can do your own little hot yoga.
So you're talking 6 by 8. That's decent size. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we're sitting in a, fairly decent sized room.
Yeah, this room's a closet.
Yeah, it's like a closet. The saunas are not this big. They're about half, maybe like a third of this room. So.
But if you're just chilling out, I mean, okay.
And the idea is we have a larger sauna and then we have a smaller sauna. We find that people actually like the smaller saunas because once you get used to that radiant heat, you like the feeling of that. Like the idea of infrared is to heat the body. So the heaters, you want them close around you so that you can feel that heat. You don't want to sit in a hot room. So if you're not using all of that space like you would in the yoga studio, you would probably like the tighter heat around you so that you can feel it and it gets hotter quicker.
Gotcha. Okay. So you raised an interesting point there because I meant to ask you this earlier in regards to how it works. Is it fans? Is it heaters? Is it photon lasers? Is it
Photon lasers. No. Okay. So picture a large cedar wood box, if you will, about 8 feet tall, about 7 feet wide, and about 5 feet deep.
Okay. And
then there are black panels, and those are the infrared heaters. Infrared heat can be, a couple different sauna companies on the market. We've been around about 30 years. But they're black panels all around. If you go to the websites, a lot of pictures, you'll see the black panels. That's the heating elements.
Okay.
So it's an invisible light, similar to if you were to hold up your phone or a camera to a TV screen or a computer screen, you see that different light energy.
Sure.
That's basically what that is, but in a healthy way.
Okay.
Safe.
Okay.
Let me retract. It's not like a microwave or anything like that.
Sure.
But you sit up against the heaters. So the further away from you get the heaters, now you're just in a room with hot air, so to speak. So you want to be up against the heaters. Also, in addition to that, let's say you've got, lower back pain or you've got some really tensed up stress in your shoulders and between your shoulder blades.
Sure.
You want to sit up against those heaters so that heat can dig in and find those areas of inflammation. If you've ever seen an infrared image of someone before where you see those red and orange and darker red, that's an infrared image, and that's hot. That's where
Gotcha.
there's heat and inflammation. So the heat's going to attract to that heat area, so you want to expose it. So if you've got low back pain, you wouldn't come in and want to lay on the bench because you want your back into the area. You want your area of your body that's has some issues to be exposed to the heaters so that it can dig in and kind of do its work.
Okay. So that leads to another question.
Okay.
What are you wearing?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Towel. We provide towels.
Gotcha. So people just hanging around naked in this thing.
Yes. So again, saunas are in private rooms. Once you come in, we kind of go through the fundamentals of how the sauna works.
Sure.
The rooms are equipped with everything you need: towels, toiletry items, things like that. So once you come in, the sauna suite's yours for an hour period. We always block off an hour at a time.
Okay.
And then that's your space for an hour. If you need to step out of the sauna, you can. If you need to take a break from it or open the door, you're not like locked in the chamber by any means. You can come out, and that's your space. So it's definitely whatever you're comfortable with. We do have some who come in swimsuits or undergarments or whatever, especially if you are saunaing with somebody. It's whatever you're comfortable with. I have plenty of folks who come in and they barely get undressed. They just want to feel the warmth to the core. They don't really want to get into a hot environment. They just want to be in a warm environment. And so it's whatever they're comfortable with. There's no right or wrong. It's just once you do start sweating, if you do, it's a little uncomfortable to be sitting there in clothes.
Sure.
So plus the idea is to take our body out of that restricted feeling of fight or flight mode. And to do that, there are a number of things, and taking our clothes off and removing restrictions from our body helps us relax. It's like, you're at work all day and what's the first thing you want to do when you get home sometimes is just like, get into some comfortable clothes and just kind of chill. Same concept. You want to get into the most comfortable situation and just chill.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. So is there a locker room type thing? So you go from, or it's just this...
We need to get you over to Jenerate. What are we doing?
Right. Stop the show. Let's go.
Why aren't we doing this on location? No.
Microphones aren't as fancy.
I don't know. I don't have all this equipment.
Sure.
No, so you come in, like I said, the wellness center, you check in, you kind of go through intake form, and then the saunas are in private rooms kind of towards the back of the wellness center.
Gotcha.
So you go into the room and you're in your own space. Of course, we have a restroom. We don't have showers. We don't have locker rooms.
Okay.
And for the purpose of infrared heat heats the core body temperature. That process takes about 10 to 15 minutes. It also takes about 15 to 20, similar to coming out of a workout. It's not like you just cool off like that.
Sure.
Have a little bit of downtime, relax, drink some water. People are welcome to chill and hang out there. But most of the time, like a workout, you just go home and shower and kind of carry on with your day.
Yep.
We would have people hanging out there all day waiting to use the shower. So, which is fine.
Sure,
People come and drink tea, and it's a fun environment, but it's mostly just kind of use the saunas. We always recommend, wear comfortable clothes if you can. The less the better, but again, not necessary.
That's awesome. Wear comfortable clothes, the less the better.
Yes.
I think I lived that since I was 17.
Yeah. It's a good motto.
How did you get into this?
Oh man, this is a long story. I was trying to figure out on the way over here how I could shorten this. Whenever people, well, it's not that I need to shorten. It's just it didn't just happen overnight.
Sure.
And it wasn't
nothing ever does.
Yeah, and it wasn't one of those things where I just woke up one day and thought I'm going to quit my job and start a wellness center.
Let's do this.
It happened over the course of about a year and a half.
Okay.
And so, somewhere in my mid-20s, I discovered that I had some health issues and was overweight and unhealthy most of my life anyways. I wouldn't say unhappy because I live a pretty happy life.
Sure.
Friends, family, good support system. But I discovered I had a thyroid issue and it was inhibiting my ability to shed some pounds that I was looking to do. And so I had to dig a little bit deeper into figuring out how I could handle that. Saw a few physicians and instead of going a more traditional route, I decided to take a more deeper approach and figure out how I could really dig deep into detoxifying not just my body, but mind, and kind of discover how I could work a lot of different angles.
Sure.
I think with our health, sometimes we think it's just an easy black and white, and it really, stress, family, things that we're dealing with, all of those things play a big factor. So when I discovered I had this issue, as well as knowing I wanted to lose some weight, I took a huge step back and tried to figure out, okay, how can I create a new lifestyle, not just lose weight?
Sure.
Because you see the yo-yo, you see the people lose the weight.
Oh, yeah.
And then you see it come back. I figured if I'm going to put the work in, I want it to be long lasting.
Stay. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because I had a significant amount of weight to lose. I wanted to lose over 100 pounds. And
that is a lot of weight.
Yeah. And so when you're doing something like that, it's not just, I'm going to start on a Monday and I'm going to fit into that dress on Friday or Saturday.
Sure.
It's a journey. It's a process.
Well, it took a long time to build up.
Yeah,
right. So
exactly.
it's
you
not
don't get
gonna
that way
come off.
overnight, and
Yeah.
you're not going to fix it overnight. So I started talking to a few friends. Actually, had a good conversation with a friend of mine who pointed me in the direction of a more holistic, naturopathic route of finding ways that I could change my eating habits and like really develop a new lifestyle. I also discovered I was toxic with mercury.
Oh.
I was
Like
exposed
from fish or something of that nature?
No, I mean, it's hard to say what it's from. I've
Okay.
got, it could be a number of things, but I also lived in an area where there was a large paper mill in the center of our town.
Sure.
And so you never know, environmental toxins, things like that.
Sure.
And so I was on a mission to figure out how I can safely, do this without taking my system down too much.
Sure.
So took a trip out to California with a friend of mine and went to a health conference. A 4-day health conference.
Okay.
And we discovered infrared heat, among other things.
Sure.
And so we were chatting with the owners of Clearlight Saunas and how I could use this as a tool, along with some other protocols to safely detox my body of this mercury.
Sure.
And then also my friend, who is a practitioner or NRT specialist, helped me, with the food and all of the other things, supplemental support. So it was kind of like, what are the pieces to the puzzle?
Sure.
Come back to Wisconsin, start implementing these things, knowing ultimately too, like I want to lose weight and feel a little bit better in my own skin.
Yeah.
So just started incorporating healthy habits. I literally started with step 1 is how could I change a couple of bad habits and replace them with better options. That's where the tea comes in.
Sure.
I started drinking tea instead of eating mint chip ice cream and popcorn at night.
Sure.
Not as fun by any stretch at first, but
Sure.
fast forward a few months and the weight started to fall off. I started to feel better and my body was detoxing in a safe way. And so I just, was kind of going that route for a bit and finding that, okay, now I actually feel comfortable to go into a yoga studio and do yoga for the first time and
all right.
do some exercising, which also exposed me to a different group of people, a different type of people, different type of person that I wasn't communicating with before. And so we just started chatting about different healthy options.
Right.
And I got addicted to learning about what I could do to change my lifestyles.
Sure.
Got into a number of different exercises, MMA and all sorts of
Oh,
fun
really?
stuff. Yeah,
Oh,
super
awesome.
fun. And so, fast forward about 50 pounds down and that's kind of noticeable. And in the career,
50 pounds, I would say, is definitely noticeable. Yeah.
and in the career that I was in at the time, I was fairly front and center in the community, and my position was not very well known, but I was seen and heard in the community often.
Sure.
So people start to notice and they start asking questions.
Okay.
And I started, telling people like, hey, I started drinking coconut milk instead of regular milk, and I incorporated yoga instead of watching, Dateline. I don't, just different things, just watching television. So I started helping my friend at her clinic and just kind of being more of a voice, voluntarily helping with information. And again, it just organically happened where I found myself more interested in helping people in this arena of health and wellness versus working my corporate job.
Okay.
So
At this point, were you still up north?
yeah, I was in
Okay.
Rhinelander. That's
Okay.
where I'm born and raised. And I worked for Coca-Cola at the time in HR and finance
Okay.
and corporate stuff. So
Sure.
super fun. Love my job. Love
All
the
right.
folks that I worked with. But it was a completely different landscape of business.
Oh, sure.
And this was a way for me to help people and just kind of serve in the community and, my friends and family, other folks who were willing to open up and say, hey, I've actually been struggling with my weight too. What are you doing? Can you help me?
Oh, nice.
And then, as I said, working with my friend at her clinic and just helping with her programs,
Sure.
kind of like a bulletin board, Monday nights, standing in front of a group of people, getting peppered with questions
Sure.
about what's helpful, what did you do, recipes. And so one day, I was sitting at work and realized I just booked my entire Saturday to help a group of women at the natural health food store read labels.
Oh.
On
You
food.
read nutrition labels.
Read labels
Okay.
on food, yeah.
Sure.
And so I got super excited about it, and I thought, that's a little different than what
Sure.
I'm used to doing on a
The light
Saturday.
bulb's starting to go off a little.
Yeah, and so I found myself with a different focus and a new energy, and started looking into ways like getting certified and looking at ways I could like really make a, not necessarily a career out of it at the time, but how I could do it in a more structured, organized,
Sure.
helpful way.
Sure. Instead of just the one-offs here and there.
Yeah, just
Okay.
Again, being in company with like-minded people and other coaches and other health practitioners.
Yeah.
And a lot of them saying like the world needs more people helping people in this arena. So I thought, well, I'm just going to check into it a little bit. Started actually talking to my boss about it at the time, and
Yeah.
she too was interested in learning more, and just said, she came to me one day and she just said, you realize that you light up like a Christmas tree when you talk to me about yogurt
Sure.
and things that don't have,
Right.
analytics and hiring and, all the stuff that we were doing on a day-to-day. She's like, you should really look into this as a career. And so my boss was my boss, and she was a great lady, but she was also a friend and a really good leader. And so we had a really good conversation about, looking at the possibilities of incorporating it into my life as a
Sure.
career.
Okay.
So, over the course of a year and a half, I did lose about 125 pounds. Yeah,
Holy
about
cow.
half my body weight. Yeah, it was significant. And so, like I said, it didn't happen overnight,
Right.
but it organically happened. And through that journey, I just, like I said, got infatuated with helping other people and
Sure.
decided, all of these things that I've done and used might not help everybody, but it could probably help some.
Sure.
And so after 14 years of working for Coca-Cola, I made the decision to step outside of that and start
Wow.
over and move to this area
Nice.
where I think Madison area is kind of like the health and wellness hub of the Midwest.
We sure like to think so.
Yeah,
So,
it is.
yes.
No, it is, honestly. I travel all over the country and work with a lot of people from coast to coast, and many agree that this is a great area. It's
Sure.
definitely a good area of open-minded folks.
Mhm.
So,
That's fair.
Yeah.
Totally fair.
and so moving here, building a business plan and kind of figuring out, getting the lay of the land and understanding the differences of different areas and
Sure.
how I could help.
So was the initial plan to have a retail type business with
No.
people coming and going, or what was the initial plan?
Coaching, health coaching.
Coaching,
I went
okay.
back to school and got my certification and master's in holistic health, specifically in weight loss and how to teach people nutrition. I have a number of programs on how you can slow step into a program as well as more of a long-term program. That was my main focus. I wanted
Okay.
to coach people in their health.
Sure. So what year is this that you're...
2013.
Okay, it's not that long ago. We're talking 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Ballpark. Okay.
Yep.
So then that evolved.
Yeah, well, I've had a sauna in my house for years, an infrared
Okay.
sauna, and so
Okay.
using it for my own personal use.
Okay.
And I literally was sitting in my bedroom one day brainstorming, like, how am I going to move to an area that no one knows me? In Rhinelander, I could be wildly successful in the sense of it's a small community.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people knew who I was,
Sure.
especially if you're born and raised in an area. People know each other.
Oh, yeah.
You can network and you can really get people from word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
In an area where nobody really knew who I was, as well as a larger city, I'm thinking,
Right.
how the heck am I going to get
You're starting from zero.
people
Sure.
to know, like, and trust me, as well as want to come and talk to me?
Right.
And while I'm thinking this in my head, I'm staring at my infrared sauna going, I wonder if anyone has saunas around the area.
Sure.
Maybe they need them, or maybe
Right.
they're interested. And so a couple little Google searching later, I figured it was a unique way to attract and engage people. A huge piece of my health and wellness puzzle.
Right.
So why not incorporate it into other people
Sure.
or into other areas? So
Nice.
the retail part of it, again, those are a lot of the products in the wellness center are products that I use every day. I would
Yeah, I guess when I say retail, I mean having a
Like a
place
brick and
where people
mortar?
can come to actually go through the saunas and stuff like that. Where you're
Yeah.
not just selling coaching out of your house or something of that nature.
like a storefront. Yeah,
Yeah.
big difference between a storefront versus online or just working.
Oh, huge as
Yeah.
far as your capital expense, and then
Yeah.
having to have employees be there for people to come and go.
Yeah, definitely pros and cons. I do have a lot of online programs, and that's just so that I can reach more people and
Sure.
help more folks. So there's definitely a piece that is online, and that works well. But I don't know. I think Wanakee, where I'm located, kind of reminds me of my hometown a little bit.
Oh yeah.
And just having a storefront where people can come in. I think I was telling you a little bit ago that this is the first podcast I've ever recorded, which
Yeah.
is interesting to me because I have been in business a bit. And I think that organic reach and talking to people
Sure.
is always something that I'm comfortable with doing, but you don't normally record it.
Oh,
And
sure.
You know what
That's
I mean?
fair. Yep.
But I wanted to create a space for people to come in when they come through the doors of Jenerate. I want them to feel comfortable to have a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
They're not coming in to just browse and shop around. If you're going into a wellness or health and wellness business, you've got legitimate questions.
No, that's a destination. That's not just
Yeah.
like I'm poking around thing.
Yeah,
That's,
and you're looking for answers. You're looking for help and answers. And so I think that being able to even just have a 5 to 10 minute conversation with somebody face to face is a little bit more approachable than reading something online or
fair.
you know,
Totally fair.
yeah,
The,
and
the lost art of interpersonal communication,
yeah,
right?
I mean, land of social media and all these platforms that we're
Right.
using nowadays. I think for me, I get caught up in, I love expos, I love community events, I love events where I can speak and talk to people because I think that's where you can gain the most ground is if you like somebody.
Sure.
And maybe this goes back to my hiring, my HR days at Coca-Cola,
Sure.
where the first 30 seconds of talking to somebody, you can, read, get a good understanding
Right.
if that person's the right fit, versus reading and, anybody can put anything online. So it's just a concept where I thought I needed to create a place, like a physical place where people could come, learn about infrared saunas, learn about my programs, learn
Sure.
about my services, talk to me, talk to my staff, and feel comfortable about what's going to work well for them
Sure.
and what we can help them with. And if we can't help out, if we don't have that service or that program, we've got lines of communications with other practitioners or other resources in the area
Sure.
that we can point them in that direction.
So you can refer them where
Yeah.
they need to go. Okay.
Yeah, just kind of like a hub.
Sure. So
So-
did you ever do the health coaching thing alone without any of the other stuff, or did you go all in and get the place in Wanakee and build it up?
Well, I did health coaching before, soul health coaching prior.
Okay.
But when I opened Jenerate, it was saunas and coaching.
Okay.
And then about a year and a half ago now, I actually stepped away from one-to-one coaching. I still have
gotcha.
programs.
Okay.
I don't offer group programs right now just because the infrared saunas have become so popular
Sure.
and are so widely interesting to folks that,
That's awesome.
and I travel a lot for education work,
Okay.
that it was hard for me to keep up with both.
Sure.
So
Learning or presenting or?
both,
Okay.
actually. Yeah,
Okay.
presenting. As I mentioned, I do a lot of work with firefighters and first responder community, and that's a lot of educational work, going to symposiums or shows where I take my saunas or any health and wellness,
Sure.
expo or conference where I take saunas and just educate on what it is, let people sit in it, and again, tangibly feel
Yeah.
what it's like to sit inside the sauna. So it was becoming a little bit difficult for me to travel and
Sure.
coach from afar.
Do the one-on-one.
Yeah,
Sure.
and give people my full undivided attention. So
That's fair. I can
Yeah.
totally understand from a business coaching point of view, right?
yeah,
Having to do the one-on-one with the coaching thing, you have to be available for them and
yeah. You want to
give your
it
clients everything that you possibly can, but from a time opportunity cost, one-on-one coaching, that's a huge time suck.
Yeah, and it definitely exudes a lot of energy from a person. And I mean, you only as a health focused person, you only have so much energy you can give before you need to
Sure.
fill it back up a little bit.
Yep.
And so I felt myself feeling a little bit overwhelmed. So I needed to take a step back. But yeah,
I can
you want
totally appreciate that.
yeah, you need to be all in, and your customers, expect that, and they
Mm-hmm.
deserve that. And so when they're paying for your services or wanting to work with you,
Yeah.
the least you can do is give them your 100%.
Yeah. Yep.
So
I had a day where I made the mistake of scheduling 4 sessions
Oh,
in the
gosh.
day. And I was like, my brain was putty at the end of it. And I was like, why am I just feel beat up.
yeah,
Right. And I was like, we can't do that again. No, for me to be able to apply as much possible, as much help and as much energy as I need for the clients that I'm dealing with, I just got to space them out.
yeah. Focus is a big thing. I found, I think with anything in life, you figure it out as you go, and you make a ton of mistakes.
Absolutely,
And
sure.
that's the only way we're gonna learn. I'm open 6 days a week, and I definitely figured out I can't coach 6 days a week.
Oh no.
So I scheduled out 3 days in the middle of the week, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Those are my days where I'm electric. I can be focused. Mondays and Fridays, no.
Sure.
by Saturday. Not happening.
Tapped out.
The brain is on overload, and
Sure.
I need to recharge. So
Sure. So that means that when you started this thing, so when you're on the retail side or having people coming and going, that means that you needed employees right away then, essentially, right?
well, needing them and getting them were two different things.
High five
Yes,
there.
yes, I needed them. No, I did not get them right away.
Okay.
As an entrepreneur who starts out in a business venture,
Mm-hmm.
you have no idea sometimes what you're getting yourself into. And,
Oh, yeah. Comment.
you want to do as much as you can for as long as you can
Mm-hmm.
until you hit that wall of, holy smokes, I need help.
Yeah.
And that's a sometimes hard realization.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got training and implementing and,
Mm-hmm.
getting someone to learn your business. And I always think, no one's ever going to love your business as much as you do. It doesn't feel like work to me, but it's work for someone else.
Sure.
But no, I didn't incorporate employees until probably, I don't know, 6 months into the business.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
It was within the first year. I hired part-time help, and
Okay.
it was mostly just to help out on those days where I was coaching, so that I didn't have, I had some uninterrupted time.
So you're talking about checking people in, people
Yeah,
out, stuff
with
like
the
that.
saunas.
Okay.
And
Yep.
so, those two different, very, very different pieces of the business. If I'm working with a client or I'm in a meeting or I'm with somebody,
Mm-hmm.
I needed someone to manage the sauna studio part of it where they can check in and give people the time to
Sure.
explain. I can't be in two places at once.
No.
So yeah, I did incorporate employees in, but it wasn't right away. I'd love to say that right out of the gate I had it all figured out. I did not.
No,
I did
anyone
not.
that does is lying, so it's totally fine.
Yeah,
Safe
no.
place here.
Yeah, I still think, you don't always, no one ever has it all figured out.
No, never.
Right.
There's too much to learn, right? It's like
Right.
an accountant saying they know all the tax code. Like,
Yeah.
you can't possibly. No one person could possibly know all that.
That's not fitting into your brain.
Right.
It's not happening. But
Right.
I do have staff, and yeah, we have it figured out now. I have great employees, and they take pride in what we do, and
Sure.
they're always, one of my number one things is, again, going back to the comfortability of people coming in and talking
Mm-hmm.
to folks, wanting it to be a comfortable space.
Sure. That's awesome. So how many employees do you have now?
4.
4. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
I imagine some are they all part-time or some full-time?
Some full-time, some part-time, and then
Okay.
I've got this a summer intern working for me. I'm part of a
Oh,
group
nice.
over in Wanakee called WIN. It's Women in Networking, where we do a lot of women networking and just talk about business stuff. But
Sure.
part of that program is mentorship.
Oh,
And
interesting.
so I was really passionate about going into the schools and doing some speaking,
Mm-hmm.
as well as mentoring any like an entrepreneur or somebody who's interested in the business. So give them a good
Right.
idea of what business is like, especially with social media platforms. And
Oh, yeah.
it's not like you just flip the lights on in your business and people come flocking in. That does
No,
not
it does
happen.
not Field of Dreams,
No. So yeah, this year I've got a summer intern who's working for me, and she's fabulous, and she's learning a lot. We're learning a lot from each other.
Mm-hmm.
She's got another year left of school over in Eau Claire. And
Hey, Blue Golds.
yeah, so
it's-
she's gonna, take off and go over there, and we're gonna probably stay in touch and work from afar a little bit. But
Nice.
yeah, we're growing, always growing.
Nice. Eau Claire's my old stomping ground.
Oh,
so,
cool.
yeah, way back when. Funny.
Not that far. I'm
Oh, it seems like forever, but that doesn't matter. Wait, it's like when you go to the grocery store and you see the little sign for how old you have to be to order to get liquor
Oh,
or something
yeah.
like that. I'm like, oh, wait, what?
Yeah, it's.
What?
I don't even pay attention to those anymore. I think the other day I was buying a bottle of wine, and I had my sunglasses on, and the lady walked up to me, and I spun my head around. She said, "Oh, okay."
Oh.
And I thought,
why don't you just stab me in the back?
yeah, like my mom was with me. She was here visiting, and she goes, "Ooh, Jennifer, you've reached that point."
Nice. Thanks, Mom.
Yeah.
So, what is your favorite thing about owning a business?
Oh gosh, favorite thing about owning the business?
Mm-hmm.
I think probably.
Outside of just telling your employees to get back to work.
Oh no, I don't. They know. I actually don't have to tell them that. Like I said, it's a cool place. I just had this conversation over the weekend. Actually, I think the best and the coolest part about owning a business is the gratification of like serving the community and serving others.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't, in my opinion, for me, there isn't anything more rewarding than a person who's either sitting in my office or who comes to me and says, "Thank you. You've literally changed my life."
Huge.
Like
Yep.
that never gets old. It really doesn't. And I think, the highs are high and the lows are real low sometimes in business, but they all balance out. And I think the pros always outweigh the cons. And the most gratifying thing for me is when somebody comes to me and says, you've changed my life. You've changed the life of my family. Thank you, you know, for your service, or thank you for your resources. And so I think that's probably the most rewarding.
Totally, I can agree with that.
Yeah.
I tell people sometimes when you talk with people that have jobs, they're like the treasury bond. And then when you're an entrepreneur, it's like the stock market, right?
Yeah.
You have some way ups and you have some way
No
downs.
one's predicting it.
The overall, generally speaking, is going up.
Incline.
At
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
Much higher than.
Yeah.
But there's some security in a treasury bond, right? It's nice. It's growing, but
there's a lot more risk. And
limited growth down there.
yeah.
But with the stocks of entrepreneurship.
Yeah,
right?
I think the stocks, there is more risk, but the reward, there's more risk and reward. Some days, you know, you wonder like, what did I get myself into?
Yeah.
I miss the days of the 9 to 5.
Sure. Can I be done now?
Yeah, because you're never done. But
No.
again, going back to it, doesn't ever really feel like work to me. It's hard, but it's a different kind of hard. I love it. Yeah.
No, I totally agree. Say it with business of your own, you get excited for Mondays instead of dreading them.
Oh yeah, no, I actually flew out of bed this morning, super excited, knowing I had to come in today, but I have a ton of things in the pipeline right now, and some really cool projects that I'm excited about.
Nice.
So I had like a good example of the lows are like, I have a million things coming at me right now. So how do I prioritize and what do I do first? But yeah, I literally like bounced out of bed this morning.
Go.
Get the coffee brewing and
Sure.
sit down and get going and answering the emails and getting back to people and just kind of jamming and banging out, you know, some really good information.
Nice.
I'll probably, you know, I put in a lot more hours now than I used to.
Okay.
But yeah, it feels good. I like it.
Are you married?
No.
No. Okay. Kids?
No.
No. Okay. So you got the time to commit.
So my work-life balance is a little different than some. Yeah.
Right. It's judgment call on your own time. So it's your time.
Yeah, exactly.
So what have been some challenges you had with starting your business?
Well, staffing. That's always an issue. You know,
huge. Yeah.
Employees, the training, and you know, just teaching someone else, and you know, that loyalty.
Sure. Getting them to
Show up on time, care, things like that. Care. Oh gosh, other challenges. I think having a storefront is just, you know, a little bit more difficult because
I bet it is.
Yeah, you know, you want first impression's a lasting impression. So cleanliness, comfortability, things like that are like super high priority for me. And so with all of those attention to details, takes time.
No, I just want to stop you right there. I had a little, I had my printer repair company, and I had a little drop-off place for people to drop off at my warehouse.
Yeah.
And it was myself, and then I had a couple other employees. And I remember I took a video of it when I had a new video camera, back when video cameras were a big deal. And I just did a video of the office, and I came across this video, and I was looking at it. It was a pigsty. Oh, my God. And we had just cleaned this place, right? Air quotes, cleaned this place. And I'm looking at this video going, when customers came in here, what did they think? Right, but I'm like, oh, they just figured we're fix-it people, so, you know, it's a sty. We fixed their machine. Everything's happy, hunky-dory. I'm like, I had to walk into that every single day. What did that do to your mindset that you didn't even realize?
But I think if you think about it, I'm now visualizing every time I've walked in any kind of computer electronic repair camera. There's a camera store that comes to my mind right now.
Yeah, it looked like that.
It was just a disaster.
Stuff everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, and you wonder how that's organized, but that's someone's chaotic organization.
It wasn't.
But so it's normal. I mean, obviously, if your service and your level of service is up to par, they probably don't care what's stacked around. But that is interesting. Yeah,
it's frustrating. I'm like, oh my God,
we don't have electronics stacked around at the wellness center. We're pretty neat and clean cut there. But
I bet yours is a whole different world compared to that I had. So that's a big deal, right? Because that's customers' first impression.
Yeah.
Like, I'm touting this to other people and stuff like this, and oh my God.
Yeah, so you definitely want to make a good first impression. I think another challenge is just keeping up with, you know, I mentioned like today's the first time I've ever done a podcast. With social media platforms, all of these different things coming at us.
Sure.
It's really challenging and exhausting for me to keep up with like what works.
Sure.
Like, you know, what's going to work, what's the newest thing. I was actually listening to a podcast of some friends of mine on the way over here.
Oh, nice.
They put out a podcast on Mondays, and I love listening to it. And they were talking about, you know, all the different, you have LinkedIn, you've got
Oh, sure.
Instagram and Facebook and all these different things. How do you know what you should be on and like what works for you?
Sure.
I think you have to think about where your clients are hanging out.
It's totally where your audience is.
It's
yes.
where your audience is. But they were talking about Instagram TV now being like the new big thing, all the rage. Are you not aware?
No idea.
What?
No, I have an Instagram account and I went on there and I'm like, why don't I post on Instagram?
Right.
And I know why.
Why?
Because from a desktop, I can't.
Oh, okay.
It's exclusive to my
Mobile.
cell phone. And
Right.
usually when I have my cell phone with me, it's to that point. I'm doing something else in person.
Right.
I don't want to be all update. Like
Yeah.
I use my desktop for updating social media.
So I think the biggest thing for me talking about that, my largest struggle in business is just showing up where you need to all the time, because there are so many places that you think you need to show up.
Oh, sure. Endless. Yeah.
And it's always growing. It's always evolving. It's all of these different things. We used to just have YouTube and the World Wide Web, and now we have a million platforms. And it's interesting. My intern, she's coming out of college right now.
Oh, sure.
I was in college 15-ish years
Sure.
ago.
Right. Ballpark. yeah.
Roughly. It's totally different. They're learning totally different things now. So I call her like my little wizard because she's so up
Sure.
to date on things, and I am not always. And so that's a challenge for someone who's in business and trying to keep up with the day-to-days, or the day-to-day options. That's definitely a huge challenge for me. So I don't know that I'm going to do Instagram TV. I'm sure I'll try it. I don't know. But I always tell people, stay in your lane and stay in what works, figure out what works, and, don't deviate too far from that, but also be open to doing other things and seeing if that works for you.
There's a million different channels, so you could communicate through all those channels, but realistically, do you have time, and what's the opportunity cost for that time?
You can't.
So it's just,
Yeah.
it's not possible. So you got to pick your few and just run with those few.
Yeah.
But
See what works.
Yeah, in the end, if you're getting clients and stuff like that, you can see your return on investment. It's all good.
Right.
But I'm sure, the Instagram TV, you make me think, back in my day in college, internet was new. Mm-hmm. And so, chat rooms were a thing. I don't even know if there's a thing anymore.
Oh, I remember that.
Way back when, right? And we all had dial-up. I remember having to use this, I
Yeah.
forget what they called it. If it was trumpet, it doesn't matter. Some way to connect through a telephone line to the internet, right?
Yeah, and you couldn't be on the phone or internet.
Oh, yeah, it was
and internet at the
crazy
same
slow,
time.
right? Some when you're
That's the
learning
best.
about all the guys that started up like Amazon and all this kind of stuff back in that when the internet was first starting.
Yeah.
I was thinking is the only thing that they had going for them that they had a fast internet connection? Because we couldn't even you go to load up a website and you could watch it loading. I'll come back in 10
Slow,
minutes.
painful, agonizing.
There's
yeah.
no way you
and if
could start
somebody
a
calls
business.
you during that time and it disconnects, it's starting
Yeah,
over.
you're done.
You're
Game
done.
over. So I wondered this is we're still moving it, right? Technology is moving so fast.
Constantly, so fast.
Back then, it was the internet connection that I feel like you could have done a lot with, whether you realized it or not. But what is that little nugget now that's a tool that someone has that even if they don't have much talent, with that little tool, they can go
Get
crazy
something out
places,
there?
right? So
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think it's different for everybody. Like I said, Instagram, TV, LinkedIn, Facebook.
Sure.
So many different platforms. Twitter. Twitter scares me a little bit, to be honest. It's the biggest conversation, and I'm not quite sure how to dive in all the time because you don't know what you should be saying.
Sure.
And I think when I'm talking to other business owners and other folks who are just, whether they're already in business or have been for many years, we're all a little bit intimidated to say something wrong, or you're going to offend somebody, or you're going to make them wrong, someone mad. It's the whole, you can help 10 people and feel great, and that one person who's going to jump behind the computer and blast you on Google or Yelp or something. That's a fear always. That's kind of back in your head a little bit.
Yeah.
So you don't know where you should show up sometimes. I don't do Twitter a ton just because that's not usually where.
Sure. It's a lot of people talking.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people listening.
Yeah, and I think you can use it as a platform for education, and you can talk about stuff, but I just don't. It's not my number one.
Mm-hmm. So outside of the social media realms, do you do any traditional media?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think when I was saying about being the first podcast, radio, commercials, TV, TV gigs, a lot of magazines. I've been fortunate to have people reach out to me and
very cool.
feature in some really great magazine and media publications. Wanakee has a really great publication that I'm a part of, and
nice.
considered an expert. When different different businesses and different resources. You know, I'm the health and wellness expert for Wanakee, so that's cool.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so that's kind of neat. You know, what else? I'm on Facebook and have some private Facebook pages where people can come and join the groups, and they can share information and talk a little bit more specific about how infrared heat can help them and like my programs and what works. Yeah, so you just try different things, you know, in the area. And as I said, I love community events, you know, seminars, expos, places where I can show up with my sauna and just let people sit in it and ask questions.
That's what I want to ask you.
That's my favorite.
So the saunas, when you're describing them, seem like a small room. So are you tearing these down and putting them back?
Yeah. So I knew you were going to ask that, actually. So, you know, I also sell infrared saunas. Okay. So I have the brick and mortar business, but I also work with commercial and residential sauna sales.
Okay. So if somebody wants this in their house or their business, they can go through you and get it taken care of. Okay.
Yep. So if you're looking for, you know, if a person's looking to incorporate it into their home, or a business owner is thinking like, yeah, that'd be a really cool amenity, or, you know, another revenue stream for my business, I want to learn more, I do that. So we have 1 person all the way up to 5-person saunas. So they do range in size. And when I go to expos, I don't take the largest saunas, obviously.
Back up the truck.
Yeah. You generally have you know, like a 10 by 10 space, or sometimes I have a 10 by 20. So I usually take one of the more portable units with me. Now, when I travel to some of the larger shows, like I've got a big event coming up in August here in town that's rather well known.
All right.
But I'll have a pretty large space down there with a couple of different size saunas to really showcase that works with athletes.
You're bringing a few of them.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
So I have a few saunas down there, and this works specifically with athletes in the fitness communities and how they're using them for recovery in a safe, natural way to enhance their performance as well as recover their body and their muscles. So for that's a little bit larger venue. Okay. And I'll have a couple of saunas at that. So that's a little bit different than throwing one in the back of my SUV. And
like, how big of a deal is it to put these things together?
I mean, I feel like I could do that in my sleep. So
you've done it a few times.
I've done it a few times, but you know, if a person buys one for their home and it's delivered to their house, a couple hours. It's very
that's
simple.
It.
Yeah, it's a couple hours. You read through the manual. They go together pretty slick.
All right.
They're designed with efficiency in mind, but there are no nails, screws, or glues, or any tools are necessary to put them together. They kind of just interlock. Okay. And that's designed for, you know, safety and non-off-gassing materials. Sure. So a couple hours, depending on the size. Some are larger than others, take a little bit more time. But all right.
But it's not days, or you have to get some contractor or something like that?
I mean, depending on your capabilities, I guess, or if you're,
I suppose you could, but it's not necessary. Okay.
No, I mean,
nobody's swinging hammers.
No.
Okay.
Nope. A couple hours of your life. If you can't figure it out, you call me and I send someone over to help.
Nice, easy enough.
Yeah.
What has been your least favorite thing about owning your business?
Least favorite.
Least favorite. There's bound to be one, right?
Oh gosh.
Maybe 20. I don't know.
No, I think you know, a good example is, this is a holiday week, and it's tough to take time off. Sure. It's tough to disconnect and completely be away. That's hard for me for 2 reasons. 1, I love what I do, and 2, things go wrong. Sure. Things happen, and as a business owner, you have to know when to take some time off, but also it's not that easy.
I completely agree. When you normally have 5 days in the week to get stuff done, or 6 days, whatever.
Yeah, now
then all of a sudden they were like, no, nationally we're cutting that down.
Yeah.
You're like, no.
Cramming. Yeah, it's a day off.
I didn't have enough time the last week, so why am I going to have enough time when we're a day less?
It's just cramming more work, or the same amount of work into less days. Yeah. So I think the least favorite part for me is, you know, I used to have a position where I could take vacation and literally travel. Sure. And you left the job and, you know, it was there when you got back. Somebody filled in and helped out, did the day-to-day functions. But for the most part, you could just go with not a whole lot of care in the world. Sure. Not to say that I don't leave the country and go on vacation. I do. But in my brain, you know, you're always thinking and wondering. Yep. Is everything okay? You know, how are things going? And so that level of commitment is just a little bit stronger. And
or the person next to you on the plane, you're giving them a business card.
Yeah, exactly. So I think
stressed.
I think you need a sauna. I think that's probably my least favorite. Is it's hard for me to disconnect.
Sure, that's fair. That's totally fair. Awesome. Where can people find you? I know you're online, right?
Yeah, online. I have a couple websites. Jenerate-wellness.com is for the local studio for making appointments or learning a little bit more about the local space. jwsaunas.com is where you can go to learn more about buying a sauna for either home or for business.
Sure.
They both have a lot of the similar information, but tailored a little bit differently.
Sure.
We're on 313 East Main Street in Wanakee.
Okay.
Or you can give us a call.
Nice. What's your phone number?
608-630-4039.
Perfect. I love asking for people's phone numbers because
I know.
I am under the presumption that everyone that comes in the studio here answers their phone because I know that I will crack the whip if they don't.
Yeah, well, I hope if you call that number, someone's going to answer the phone. They better answer the phone. It's business hours, right? No.
Nice. So I got time for one more question here. This is a biggie, so stand back.
All right.
What's the best way that you know to make decisions?
What's the best? Say that again?
The best way that you know to make decisions.
Ooh, that is a biggie. You saved that for last.
Just right at the end, right? Like, wait, I forgot to ask this one. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Or do you have a system, or do you just gut?
Well, yeah.
Sit in a sauna and think about it.
My sauna is my safe space. I do a lot of serious business and work in the sauna. That's a good space. You know, I'm fortunate to have a lot of folks around me that great network of resources.
Nice.
I do go with my gut on a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
My intuition is usually pretty sharp and works well for me.
Sure.
But I do, as I said, I'm surrounded by some really great family, friends, supporters, business owners. Where
That's awesome.
If I've got questions or I'm not sure, or maybe just want to reach out and see if it's worked well for someone else, especially if it's something new, having a conversation and just kind of weighing the pros and cons.
Yeah,
seems to work well.
That's
Working
awesome.
with coaches like yourself.
Yay!
To where you can bounce ideas off of each other. But yeah, I think just talking to people.
That's the name of the game. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, Jen, thank you very much for joining us. This has been awesome.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
I learned a ton, so this is cool.
Yeah.
This has been Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggles, stories, and triumphant successes of business owners across the land, some of which may be with a towel in a sauna right now. Coming to you from the Sun Prairie Community Studios, underwritten by Bank of Sun Prairie. My name is James Kademan, business coach at Draw In Customers Business Coaching and author of the Bold Business book, available on Amazon. We'd like to thank you, our wonderful listeners, and our guest, Jen Rudis of Jenerate Wellness. Thank you, Jen.
You're welcome.
Find us airing on 103.5 Wednesdays at 6 p.m. and Sundays at 2 p.m., as well as at sunprairiemediacenter.com. We can also be found morning, noon, and night at the podcast link on drawincustomers.com. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week. I want you to stay awesome and enjoy your business. We'll see you again.